Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you something quite special, and it's going to be something that is going to be quite complicated because it's quite a long script, but in the end I think it might be quite worth it for a lot of people. One of my subscribers mentioned it to me in one of the comments, and it's about creating health, mana and stamina system all within Unity, and it's all going to be pretty much in just one script. Now it's going to be written in JavaScript, and I've taken a few days now to research this, and I think I've got it pretty much dead on. So I'm going to comment all the way through the script so you know what's going on, because it's going to get quite confusing when we go through, but I'll make sure that I explain every step and try and go through as best I can. So realistically, you may have seen this scene before, just my test scene. I've got two boxes, one red, one green. This is for later, so you don't need to worry about this now. I've got my first person controller, nothing fancy, just that set ready to go. So what we're going to do, it's going to be mainly in MonDevelop, so we're going to be scripting in Java. So what we're going to do is going to create a script called, we'll call it GUI Manager, and this is going to be the thing that manages all our GUIs that we're going to write now for the health, mana and stamina. You could change these up to whatever you want, but for this I'll show you this for my example. So we're going to first open up MonDevelop, and we're going to get rid of these two functions, and what we're going to do here is we're going to write a few variables. So we're going to write two variables to start, one called current health. I'm going to set that as type float and make it equal to 100. Then we're going to create another variable called max health and set that to an integer and make that equal to 100. Then what we're going to do is create another two variables. I like to give a little space so I know everything I've written. So current mana as float and make that equal 100.0. Doesn't really matter, but I like to run it this way. And then variable max mana as integer, set it equal to 100. Leave another space, write a variable called current stamina and set that as type float and set it to 100.0. Make sure you add your semicolons. Another variable called max stamina, and we're going to set that to type integer again, so you can see the running trend. Current always is set to float, and then the max is set to an integer. Then what we're going to do is set variable bar length. What I'll do is leave this lowercase so we keep all the variable names consistent, and we'll set that equal to 0.0 and put a semicolon. And for now that's all fine. And what we're going to do is write function start, and then we're going to put two brackets in, add two curly brackets, and say bar length equals screen dot width, and then we're going to say divided by 8. Now I'll explain all this once we start getting through it, but that's it for now for that bit. So then what we're going to do is write function update, and we're going to put two curly brackets in. Then I'm going to leave that for a second just while we get this on the go, and then what I'm going to do is write function on GUI, so capital O and then capital GUI, put the two brackets in and then add two curly brackets. So first of all we're going to write the GUI icons. So I'll put this, so icons for GUI. So what we're going to do is write GUI dot box open bracket new rect for rectangle, and then say 5, 30, 40, 20, close the brackets, put a comma, and then we'll put in quotes HP, close that and set a semicolon. So this means it's going to create a box, GUI box, as a rectangle, and it's going to set it so it sets it 5 across, 30 down. It's actually space of 40 across, so the full length of it. So these are just the actual parameters, so how far down it is, how far along, how long it is. This determines how long the bar is, so we don't actually need to worry about this for now. But what we're going to do is we're going to copy this line, and then we're going to paste it 2 times. Then we're going to keep everything the same, except we're going to change these values, and that's the Y value that makes the GUI go down. We're going to set that to 40 to keep that as 20, but now we're going to change that to mana, and then we're going to change this to stam. And now if I save this out and I go out into Unity and I actually go on the first person controller and add the GUI manager, and you'll see all the actual variables at the start, and what you'll see HP, mana and stamina there as GUI. So that's it for now for that bit. Then what we're going to do, I'll write another comment and say health, mana, stamina, main bars, and then what I'm going to do is say GUI.box open bracket new rectangle. So we're going to set that to 45, 30, and then we're going to set this actual length of it to bar length, put comma 20, and then we'll put a comma after that, say current health dot toString in brackets quote 0, close the brackets, and we'll say plus / plus max health, and then we're gonna put a bracket on and put a semicolon. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy this and say, and just like the other two that we've mentioned up above, we'll change that to 50 and we'll change this one to 70. And then what we'll do is we'll change this one to current mana, and then we'll change the lower one to current stamina, as you may have guessed. And then we'll also change the min and max values, min and max, and then stamina here. What we'll do is we'll save this out, and all this does is, as it did the two, it draws the box where we've positioned it with the length that we set, and then it displays what we're trying to display. So what we're displaying is the current health, so whatever the current health is at the moment, and what we're doing is converting it to a string, because when it's a float it's actually a decimal place, so if we convert it to a string it'll always be a whole number. Then it'll also display a slash and then the max that your health will ever go, and so with the other stuff. So if we go back into Unity and we press play, you'll notice that there's my the HP, mana and stamina. And if I go back into MonoDevelop, we're going to add something into the update function. So if we go to the update function and we say adjust current health, and then we'll put 0 in brackets with a semicolon, and then I'm going to say adjust current mana, and then I'm going to do the same thing. And then from there I'm going to actually create 2 functions. So as you may have guessed, one of my function here is here, and it's going to be called function adjust current health, and we're going to put adj inside there, and then I'm going to create another function underneath there, and we're going to call that adjust current mana, and then inside there we're going to put adj. Remember, in each of these functions we need the curly brackets, and what I'm going to say in adjust current mana is current mana plus equals plus, and then equals whatever value we've put in here. So that means that when we do something to adjust the mana, we can actually call this function and just put a number into here. So if we put -20, it'll take 20 off the health. If we just put a positive 20, it'll add to the mana, should I say, and it makes it easier for referencing another script. And similarly with adjust current health, we're going to say current health plus equals the ADJ. For this is where we're going to start doing the more complicated stuff. So here we're going to say if current health is greater than or equal to max health, then we'll add the two curly brackets and we're going to say current health is equal to max health. So that just means that when we're adjusting the health, if we adjust it beyond a certain point, if we get healed, if the current health, so whatever the number we have on the left, is more than the number we have on the right, which is set to 100, if it ever gets more than that, we'll set the health to whatever maximum health is, just so we can't ever go any higher. And similarly, if we don't want to go the other way, so we'll say if current health is greater than or equal to 0, and then we'll close the bracket, and we add the two curly brackets, we'll say current health is equal to 0. So that in the other sense is if it ever goes to or past 0, we'll set the current health to 0 because we never want it to go any lower. So that's okay for now. We've done those two functions that we needed to do, and we've done the on GUI. Now this is the bit that we're going to have to start doing right in the update, and it's probably going to get a little bit confusing. So to start off, I want to add a private variable at the top and call that chmotor, and set that to as type of character motor. And then we're going to write in our start function chmotor equals get component character motor. We're going to close that up and put a semicolon, and we'll save that out. So that just means that we're going to be able to change our FPS controller values, because we want to be able to sprint and slow down and such when we're moving. So under here, what I'm going to write is I'm just going to make a little note here. So we're going to put mana control section, and we're just going to put a star in the brackets, this just so you can see what's going on. And then I'll write here normal mana regeneration. So what we're going to say here is if current mana is greater than or equal to 0, and then we'll add the curly brackets and say that current mana plus equals time dot delta time, which means if the current, I forgot to put a bracket there, so if current mana is greater than or equal to 0, it will start regenerating and counting up. And then we're going to say here is we're going to say don't let mana go above 100, and then we'll say if current mana is greater than or equal to max mana, then with the curly brackets we'll say current mana is equal to max mana. So again, like we did below on here, because the reason we're doing an update for mana is because mana's always changing, whereas health is not going to regenerate in this instance. If you wanted it to regenerate, you could do it similar to this and you'd have to add it to the update function. But here is if the current mana ever reaches the max mana, we'll just set it to the correct value. And below here we want to put a new line break in there. I want to say if mana reaches 0, never go below. Then we want to say if current mana is less than or equal to 0, add the curly brackets. We want to say current mana is equal to 0. And from here, now this is when we want to do something. We want to actually do a spell, do something, anything that you want to do. But for simple sake, we'll say if input dot get key down, open brackets f, close, and I close the two brackets. We'll say adjust current mana, and then we'll put in brackets -20, close that up and put a semicolon. And that just means, as I said before, if we press F, we're going to adjust the current mana with whatever value we gave to it. So -20 will take -20 mana off. So that's it done for the mana. So if we save it out, what we'll do, and when I look back at my script, I don't know why, but on my function I accidentally put semicolons and the end of these, they don't need them. So you want to save it out, open Unity back up, and also remember when we started this script in JavaScript, and if we go back into Unity and we press play, you can see that, you know, everything's normal. Now we press F, you'll see that when we press it, it'll take 20 off, and when we're not doing anything, the mana slowly regenerates. So as you could tell that when we pressed F, we actually got the -20. But say you wanted the mana to regenerate faster, what you could do is do the time.delta time and times it by a certain amount. So if I times it by 2, it will regenerate twice as quick. And times it by 4, 6, 8, whatever you want, doesn't really matter. The more you do, the faster it'll be. Now we're on to the sort of stamina section, and this is where it'll start getting a little bit more confusing. So if I just tag this as stamina control section with a star and then /, and what I'll do is I will say, what we're going to do is add another code note and say set and find character controller, because what we're going to have to do is actually find the character controller so we can work with the actual character controller, which is the rigid body, which we can detect whether we've moved or not. So what we're going to do is say variable controller character controller, and what we'll say is equals get component, then open brackets character controller, close brackets, semicolon. And then what we'll do, we'll write another note and say, then we'll say if you're moving and pressing shift, then speed up and take from stamina bar. So what we're going to say is if controller that we set up here dot velocity dot magnitude is greater than 0, and we'll put and input dot get key, open brackets key code dot left shift, close two brackets. Then we'll say, by adding two curly brackets, we'll say current stamina minus equals time dot delta time times by 10, and we'll put a semicolon. So that just means if we're actually moving and then we'll say pressing the input, which is the left shift, so moving and pressing shift at the same time, stamina will decrease. And what we're going to say is, like above, we set a private variable called chmotor for the character motor, and that'll change the actual speed at which we move. So we'll say chmotor dot movement dot max forward speed is equal to 10, and then we'll copy this same line and say the same thing, but we'll change this to max sideways speed and set it to equal to 10. and that's okay for that bit. Then below that we're going to actually put another note and say if not pressing anything, then normal movement speed, and we'll say else, then we'll add two curly brackets and say, so in the else we'll copy these two lines here, just neaten them out, and we'll put 6 and 6 because that's the normal value that we set. And then we're going to put another note and say stamina regeneration, and then what we're going to say is here if controller.velocity.magnitude, so this again is set to 0, and with two ands, open the bracket, current stamina is greater than or equal to 0, close the two brackets. Then what we'll do is we'll say that current stamina plus equals time dot delta time times 2. So what we're doing there is if the velocity is 0, so we're not actually moving, and current stamina is greater than 0, we're actually going to increase or regenerate stamina. Then we're going to add a couple more things and say that add a note saying if stamina regeneration set to 100, never go past that amount. So we'll say if current stamina is greater than or equal to max stamina, then we'll say current stamina stamina is equal to max stamina, and then we'll add another note saying that if goes to 0, then set to 0. And we'll say if current stamina is less than or equal to 0, close the bracket. Then we'll say current stamina is equal to 0, and we'll get rid of just these line breaks, and we'll have to actually add one thing in between here. So in between what we added, we're going to say if moving, pressing shift and stamina is 0, then you cannot sprint. So we'll say if controller, like before, velocity dot magnitude is greater than 0, and input dot get key open brackets key code dot left shift, close that brackets, and we say and current stamina is less than or equal to 0, then we're also gonna do these two same lines. So if we copy this, paste those in, so we'll say if the velocity, so if characters is moving, you are pressing the left shift and your stamina is 0, then you're just going to move at normal speed because you can't sprint because you've run out. So what we'll do is save this and go back into Unity. And when we run the script now, you'll notice that everything's normal. We can move, we press F, so pretend we casted a spell or something like that. You'll notice that it starts generating. Now when we move, we're moving at normal speed. Now if I hold shift like I'm doing now, you will see that movement speed increased and the stamina is going down. Say I let go of shift, which I'm going to do now, and I'm moving, that's just normal speed. What I can do is let go of everything, stop moving, stamina regenerates. Now if I start moving, hold sprint, you'll notice that when it reaches 0 we go at normal speed and we have to wait for the stamina to regenerate again. And then I'll unplay this, and what I'll do is quickly run through the whole thing again. So I've got all my variables, one which is the current amount and one that is max for both for health, mana and stamina. I've got the length of the bars, I'm referencing the character motor here, and then in the start I'm setting the length of what I want. If you actually change this division by 8 to something like division by 10, you'll notice that the bars at the top will get smaller, so it's dependent on what you like. Then we're setting the component that we want to find, and in the update we can adjust the health and mana dependent on what we want to do. And then we'll set in the mana regeneration. If your current mana is greater than 0, then you will regenerate. If your current mana is more than max, so is more than the current max amount, it will always be set to the max amount, so it can't go above. If your current mana is less than 0, then it's set to 0, so it can't go anywhere below. If you press F, you're using up mana. Then for stamina regeneration, we're just getting the character controller collider, which is acting as a rigid body, so we can detect the actual if we're moving or not. So we detected if we're moving and pressing shift, we're going to lose stamina at a rate. You can turn this down so you can get rid of the times in by, that just makes it deplete faster. And then we're going to set the motor speed to something faster so we can sprint. If we're not doing anything, pressing any of the buttons or whatever, we'll just set normal speed. If we're actually not moving and stamina is above 0, then we'll regenerate at a certain rate. You can set that number to higher. So now if we're moving, we're pressing shift and stamina is less than 0, we can't sprint anymore. If stamina like above, if it is greater than the max amount, then we'll set it to max amount so it can't get any higher. In there it can't go below it. These are what we set for the GUIs so we could see everything going on. In here we've just got the function, and we're managing the same things here, but we don't need to check this every frame because we're only updating the health and such when we need to, and then we can adjust mana here if we did it in a different script. So that's that for now. Now you may want to do something, so you may want to actually create some objects which actually hurt and heal. So if I create a script called heal, JavaScript, and I create another script called damage, and what I'm going to do is open heal and open damage. You can skip this part of the video if you don't want to see it, but what I'm going to do is actually get rid of these two functions for heal, and I'll write function on trigger, enter, open brackets, right, call, set a colon and set its collider, add curly brackets, and say variable GUI manager colon as GUI manager, and say equals game object with 2 capitals dot find, and then you put in here first person controller, close that up and say dot get component, open up, and then we'll say GUI manager, close the brackets and such, and then we'll say GUI manager dot adjust current health, and we'll say this one's heal, so we'll put positive 20, and then we'll say destroy, open brackets, lowercase g for game, uppercase for object, and we'll set that. Then what we'll do for the damage, we'll put the same thing in, but we'll say this time we'll put -20, we'll save that. So what this means is it finds the script that we're looking for in the first person controller, the GUI manager, and then we're going to say, like before in the GUI manager, the adjust current health, and then it adjusts it accordingly. So it's going to adjust it by positive 20. So what I'll do is go back into Unity, and you'll notice that I missed out of T in here. So if I just add a T and a T, and I'll just save these scripts, I'll go back into Unity, and what I'll do is my red box will be my damage, and my green box will be my heal, and then make sure that the both set to is trigger. We'll play the game, and you realise that when we walk into the damage, you'll notice that I took 20 points of damage. We can cast some spells just while we're here, and then if I walk into my green box, you'll see we got health back, and we actually destroyed the objects when we'd used them. So there was my tutorial. Bit of a long one and a bit complicated in some ways, but it shows you how to create a health, mana, stamina system, so you can sprint, so you can take health, take damage, and you can change these scripts for enemies attacking you, explosions, bullets hitting, anything like that. Or mana, you could cast a particle effect that then hits an enemy and does damage to them. But this is just a way of controlling your health on a GUI and doing stuff with it. So thanks very much for watching, and if you like the tutorial, as ever, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Cheers.